Twitch, the most dominant platform in the live streaming space, with hundreds of millions of users active every single month. Over the past 5 years, Twitch's reach has massively grown as many users have turned streaming from a hobby into a full-time job, and the main factor enabling this is the revenue split system that Twitch uses. In this revenue split, monetized content creators can choose to display ads and share their total earnings with Twitch. Usually, Twitch is entitled to 50% of revenue earned, but usually bigger live streamers get custom splits. Viewers can also choose to tip their favorite streamers with bits or subscribe monthly from $6. This allows them to watch streams with no ads and gain access to exclusive emojis. However, there is a massive problem that has been going on for years that includes the loss of possibly millions of dollars. You see, at first, this video was supposed to be a full deep dive where we break down all of Twitch's flaws, from basic money problems to big streamers getting away with huge violations of the terms of service. But during our research, we came across a way bigger issue. There's a apparent huge lack of oversight on Twitch that could potentially involve millions of dollars that are being charged from viewers on banned accounts, as well as black markets making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of botted subs and ads that may be used to target smaller creators in order to get them banned. And the reason this is such a huge problem is because no one is talking about it. Except for a single Dexerto article, there's nothing else on the topic I could find. Also, it's important to note that Twitch has been mass banning streamers with the term quote-unquote fraud for multiple years at this point, whilst failing to realize that a majority of the fraud isn't even committed by the actual streamer, but potentially tied back into the black markets. All of this already is a pretty bad look for Twitch, and as the video goes on, you'll see just how badly this impacts these smaller creators. As previously discussed, Twitch has a ton of ways that they generate revenue each year. However, despite all this money they make, Twitch's net profit is basically close to zero, and this is because of how much money they have to burn through every month to maintain such a big company. This sometimes leads to things like poor oversight and moderation issues just because of a lack of staff, since Twitch gets a lot of mass layoffs. And the reason for that is every time Twitch loses money, Amazon, Twitch's parent company, pushes them to get rid of more employees and use more AI. But this moderation flaw leads us into the issue. Hypothetically, if you had a favorite streamer, like let's say in this example Queso, and you really liked him and maybe got a sub, you'd be paying about $5 a month to support him. And if we scale this scenario by let's say 1,000, given the revenue split, Queso would be taking home about $2,500. Although he's a bigger streamer, he might be getting more actually, but this is just a base number. However, what if all of a sudden you wake up one day to find out that Queso was banned for fraud? Obviously, you might be a little bummed out that your favorite streamer is gone, but aside from that, you remember that you had a sub, but you would think that Twitch wouldn't charge you anymore, right? Well, no. Twitch charges you for a month, but maybe it's just a bug, so you leave it and expect a refund anytime soon. This goes on for multiple months, and at scale, tens of thousands of dollars are basically being taken quote-unquote every single month from subs of banned streamers. You're probably asking yourself where I'm going with this, but just hold on a bit. Let's actually head over to Twitch's own account enforcement page. If you're a monetized streamer who receives an indefinite suspension, you will not be able to utilize Twitch's monetization tools during your suspension, and existing recurring subscriptions to your channel will not renew. According to the Twitch help article on account enforcements and chat bans, when a monetized streamer gets indefinitely suspended for whatsoever reason, all monetized tools, including subs, are automatically invalidated. Therefore, all subs are meant to stop. Now you might think the situation that I portrayed is just fictional, and while the example maybe is, the actual quote-unquote theft isn't. Because on September 21st, 2022, a permabanned League of Legends Twitch streamer by the name of Tempest asked his subscribers to cancel their renewed subs and instead to switch to the membership program on his YouTube channel. According to Tempest, this was because Twitch still took 50% of his revenue despite refusing to unban him. And then in March of 2025, a streamer reached out to Dexerto under anonymity saying that they were still receiving payouts even after getting permabanned. They also cited the same account enforcement page that I just showed you as a sort of a confirmation that this isn't supposed to be happening. But what made this story even more interesting was that this issue wasn't just a random thing that popped up. It had been going on for years. And I have to say the word quote theft in air quotes because number one, it obviously hasn't been proven in court, but also in the Dexerto article, they said that officially Twitch has a grace period where streamers have a chance to appeal their ban, during which any subs remain active. But the issue is, we just don't know how long this grace period lasts. For all we know, it could literally last months upon months upon months. But you see, one thing that never made sense to me when I was looking into all of this was, why were these streamers getting banned in the first place? I mean, it's understandable that people break the terms of service and they get banned, but I don't know, something about this seemed pretty weird to me because if you're banned, then you're not supposed to be able to use subs anymore, right? And I feel like this has something to do with subs. So I checked the comment section and I found somebody called Liam. He seemed to be, in my opinion, the only guy that has a lot of information that dated back a long time ago. So I think it's time to call him. Yo man, what's up man?
Hello?
I basically just, I did a bunch of like looking into this and I had some more questions. So you said that you were banned for fraud, if I'm not mistaken, yeah?
Yeah.
And I looked at your channel a little bit, and from what I'm seeing, you were just like playing games like Rainbow Six Siege and stuff. So was that also the content you were doing around like 2020-ish, or did it like anything change on around that period that maybe caused it, you think?
I can't say. I used to play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, but I can remember exactly one time someone came into my chat and said, hey, I gave you bits, I think, and I didn't give you this. My account was compromised, and I advised them to go to Twitch or perform a chargeback because that's what you would do in that situation.
Oh, okay. So their account was basically stolen, and that person was getting bits on other channels.
Yeah, exactly. Or their card was used, or whichever type of thing. And at the time, I was playing a game called Prey. Yeah, I was doing the single playthrough of that, and that memory has like stuck with me because like that was the one time, I think the only time, when someone came into my chat and told me, hey, do you know anything about this? Every other time, nobody has said anything to me. It was just that one person, that one instance, and I didn't know what to say other than you have to contact Twitch because that's what I would do and get your money back. But I don't know if I've brought this up with you. There's a total black market of accounts with preloaded like subscriptions and bits.
Oh yeah, you did tell me about the bits and stuff, but I'm not sure if you mentioned anything about like stolen accounts. So it's definitely something I've heard for the first time.
Yeah, because it's the stolen accounts is how they get the Twitch Prime subs.
Because of the like linked Amazon accounts and the payment methods.
Yes, exactly.
I see.
As far as I know what they do, this is the logical way. I don't actually have like inside info on it, but the logical thing is they have cracked Amazon accounts and then they use their own personal Prime accounts to then subscribe to these people.
Holy shit. Okay, so at first, I honestly had no idea as to why people were even getting banned in the first place, as I was really just hyper-focused on the subs. Besides that, I was told in a Discord server around the same topic that people got banned for fraud with no real background information. But for the first time, we can finally connect the dots. And I think it is safe to split the blame on Twitch and these black markets. But we need to understand how these black markets even work. And with that, we're introduced to a website called twitch24x7.com. It's basically a service for streamers offering botted subs, view bots that watch your ads and artificially increase your CPM, which makes you more money, and even affiliate accounts on Twitch, which are basically pre-monetized accounts, and I don't doubt that these are stolen accounts. And I feel like Twitch is definitely aware of websites like these, but they're just not doing enough. Because Twitch is already losing over $1 billion a year as is, and the CEO announced in May of this year that they were going to take way more action against VBots. But what I just think is a bit weird is that, sure, I mean, it's good that you will be trying to detect the streamers VBotting themselves, but also, why don't you just go after the source of the problem? I know that's easier said than done, but in this example, you'll see that a streamer by the name of Extra Emily actually had a tab open for VBots that clearly wrote out the domain.
Oh, this is Emily. Have you met her? Oh.
Obviously, this is just a single incident that we've seen, but I don't doubt that there's tons of other streamers that have been caught with VBots, and I don't get why they just don't go after the source of this problem. But with this clip in particular, a lot of people had divided opinions, with some saying it could have just been a pop-up and others saying that she's actively using the service. But I still think that it's contradicting when you take into account that if you even display a VBot on your stream, you will get banned. Also, from what I know, there were no consequences to her having this tab open, which I think is a little bit contradicting because if you just look at the Twitch community guidelines, it literally says that spam and other deceptive practices create a negative user experience, decrease trust in our service, and mislead viewers, creators, and advertisers specifically. And they even say, once again, any content or activity that disrupts, interrupts, harms, or otherwise violates the integrity of Twitch's services or another user's experience or devices is prohibited. But the thing is, there just wasn't enough drama about this, which I think is the case. And I'm not saying there has to be drama, but we just need to make more attention on cases like these where big streamers are getting away with stuff like that. Because this was a deceptive practice in my opinion. But then again, you have to remember that Extra Emily is one of the many big streamers on Twitch that constantly get thousands, if not millions of dollars in subs every single month for Twitch. And I mean, sure, maybe it was just a tab that she didn't open, but the domain was literally shown on screen, and it doesn't take a genius to just look it up. Because of just a month after this incident, the actual CEO of Twitch says that they're gonna take more action against VBots. You'd think that they would see this clip, source the VBotting site, and maybe send them a legal notice or just get them taken down, right? Well, no, I looked the website up and it's still active. And I could keep on nitpicking about all these VBots, but I really want to go back to the Twitch 24x7 site for now. So, based on what Liam told me and some more evidence you'll see in a minute, on average, there are two types of people that will visit a site like this. The first would be someone that is just trying to get more subs on their page or more bots that watch their ads, for which, sure, the service is, quote, cheap at just $30 for the lowest ad bot, and if they wanted subs instead, it would just be about $27 for almost 50 subs, which if each sub on Twitch was a minimum of $5 and these would actually go through, it would give them about $245 in return for 50 subs, which is just insane. But then there's people that maybe have an affiliate page but don't want to take the risk of getting their account and possibly only source of income banned, but they want to quote unquote troll someone. Now, this is a stretch, but hear me out. These people would get a small amount of subs, even if it's just one, and then put it on a random person's page or someone that they may have been targeting. Because one thing Liam did tell me was that, so they're doing this to just get the money from the stolen account or also to get other people like banned?
No, to get other people banned. I
Oh,
would say
okay.
it's a much cheaper service and a more accurate service to get people banned.
So this same hypothetical bad actor would then get subs for that person, and that person would see it appear on their dashboard at first, but oops, Twitch sees it as either a stolen account or payment method, and you get banned for fraud. And you might be thinking, this just doesn't make sense, right? Why would someone just get a sub on a random account to get them banned? Well, after my conversation with Liam, he put me in a group chat with two more people that got banned for fraud as well. And one of them actually had the exact same situation that I described happen to them. They got a bunch of subs, they wanted to ask if they were legit, and Twitch did nothing, and he ended up getting banned for fraud. What's crazy too is that this particular case happened literally just a month ago in May from the time that I'm currently recording, and these emails from Twitch just look so automated almost. But that's where I need to show you guys something else. You see, when I first looked into this problem, my only source at the time was the article from Dexerto and a bunch of tweets. And as you can see, this article was only in 2025. And mind you, during this time, I had no idea it even went to the extent of black markets. I literally just thought that people were getting banned, and whilst they were banned, Twitch was still charging subs. But when listening to Liam's accounts and receiving more sources and screenshots that he provided to me, it revealed something insane. He had been dealing with this issue since 2020 and as early as 2019, while Dexerto only listed their earliest incident of this in 2022. And don't forget too, Liam stated in multiple tweets way before this article that his income source on Twitch was mainly through friends of his tuning in and then supporting him. And before he got banned, he was getting emails constantly saying that his payouts were suspended, during which his friends were still getting charged. And then in 2024, things took a insane turn. So, you know how VTubers are among some of the most hated on people on the content space? Obviously, they're not the most hated, but there is a noticeable chunk of hate for them, or even just PNG tubers too, which are YouTubers that use a PNG of a avatar instead of a webcam. Like, there's this creator called Jellybean that used to get an insane amount of hate a few years ago. People thought that she was just cringe as fuck and that her avatar was pretty corny. But that's not what we're talking about. This hate, as mentioned, also extends to VTubers since they usually have some type of 3D anime model, with some of them admittedly being pretty explicit. But this is where I found one of the most insane threads I've seen regarding this matter. And I mean, hey, you can have your own opinions about VTubers or PNG tubers for that matter, but if we take a look at these connecting dates on these mass bans and the fact that basically all of these bans have the same reasoning, even stating using stolen payment information across all of these screenshots, it's just too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. And why am I saying this? Well, it's because I believe a bunch of these streamers were getting targeted by black market users. Because otherwise, I don't know how it would have made sense. It's either the black market or there's people that are using stolen payment information to get subs, which Twitch just doesn't moderate. In fact, they've tried to use the excuse of quote-unquote bugs many times before. For example, when the streamer Rakai, which I'm sure a bunch of you know, was banned for 2 years at first for doing a bunch of stuff that was against TOS, Twitch ended up saying that it was a visual bug and that he was only banned for 30 days actually.
Early in the comments, Rakai's 2-year ban wouldn't last long, as Twitch would release a statement a couple days later saying his ban was a quote-unquote visual bug and he's actually banned for 31 days.
And going back to this problem, they used the same excuse on the charging issue. In fact, it was so bad that a relatively big VTuber on Twitch actually had the same issue because they were affected by the ban, and they had to threaten Twitch with legal action because their subs would still get charged even though they weren't on the platform, to which Twitch basically folded and unbanned them. Although we've seen all this stuff about black markets, I still didn't think it was enough. I wanted an actual DM from possibly an owner of this black market through their official Discord server maybe. But come on, that requires setting up a whole new account, using a separate email, joining the server, trying to get a response for days, and maybe only getting breadcrumbs. Who would have the time for that? I first started by asking for some vouchers, like screenshots of people that got paid out from this. At first, I only got a link to a page that had, quote, comments vouching for the service, but they didn't contain any proofs of payout. And the only reason I really wanted to see them is because Liam himself told me that I would be able to find a whole vouch channel in there testifying in support of the service. But the reason why it wasn't there was later revealed and actually interesting, as it turned out that Discord actually banned his previous servers because they contained vouchers. I also wanted to know if the owner knew that people would get banned if they used the service for, fraud. Finally, we got into a consistent communication flow, and he straight up admitted that this is not safe, as well as it, quote, only having guarantee for partner channel. And this is also where we got to the interesting bit, where I asked him if I bought something for a friend from this service, if they would get banned, to which he admittedly said they would definitely get banned. I also asked him how he even gets all these accounts in the first place to basically have them all sub on a certain account, to which he said that he has a, quote, database of cracked accounts and abandoned accounts. This is literally proof of him stealing accounts or getting them from a third party and then basically using innocent people's money to have his customers subscribe to themselves or someone else only for the account to get banned. And remember, these subs are dirt cheap for only 55 cents per sub compared to $5 a month for a legitimate sub. The return on investment in theory on these are insane and sometimes do go through with no suspicion from Twitch. I basically then asked him some other stuff like why partner accounts have a lower risk of getting banned, to which he said that it only happens on partner accounts if it's a huge amount, and the only reason why they even get banned is because the victims of the stolen accounts notice a charge from Twitch, and usually they realize that their account was probably stolen because they wouldn't have an active sub if their account was dormant, and then they would go and just report the streamer, assuming that the streamer is stealing their account, which obviously isn't completely correct as, like I said, not every streamer purposefully buys these, and they might actually be a victim of some kind of twisted prank to get them banned. There's some more questions I had, and I've linked the full conversation in the description, but it got to a point where I asked him if he thinks that Twitch will catch him, to which he said that he's clear because he's, quote, not a hacker and lives in, quote, Moscow, Russia, that nothing could happen. But he was typing a lot more messages to justify his actions, which already told me that he might be nervous about actually getting caught. He also said that he believes to be one of the biggest Twitch botting services on the internet. And then the conversation finally got to my favorite bit. Thanks for the info. I'm gonna be honest, I'm currently doing an investigation into Twitch, specifically a mass ban phase during 2024. All of these bans in this thread were because of, quote, fraud, specifically stating that they were allegedly using stolen payment information to purchase stuff from streamers' pages. The reason why I reached out to you is because I interviewed someone who was affected by this Twitch moderation issue and got his account banned for fraud as well. He forwarded me to your service and said that there is a possibility that these mass bans happen in 2024 because of services like the one you offer. Twitch obviously doesn't know a lot about this since they made the statement a few months ago that they will look into these things, but I have evidence that other botting services were not taken down, including yours. If you're still open to answering more questions, I'd like to interview you through a Discord call.
Brother, this is not what I want. I want to do just my business.
But you do understand that even though you might not think that this is illegal, it could get you in trouble since you also said that you're using, quote, cracked accounts to give people these subs, which means there's people out there that are losing money because of this.
I understand. I don't care, honestly.
Also, you think that it's not illegal, but it actually is since in Russia Article 272 or 273 directly speak against this.
Lol, okay. Come to Russia, we can talk. Private interview.
How about Discord?
You girl or boy?
Why does that matter?
With girls, I don't speak at all. They broke my heart, and I stopped talking with girls at some point of life. Only with my mother.
I see, but if we put aside the whole Twitch side of this, don't you feel a bit of remorse because you're using innocent people's money to essentially give to a streamer who doesn't want to work to get it?
I don't know anyone who buys it for someone else. Like 0.1 customers like you tell.
Also, what about the people that got banned because of services like this? People that actually wanted to do live streaming as a job but can't anymore.
Who buys something for someone else? It's 0.01%. I don't even meet them. My service is automized because I'm smart.
It doesn't matter if you meet them or not. You may or may not have a hand in their bans and are essentially ruining their dream of doing content creation.
I don't care. Okay, I need ticket space for my customers. Sorry, finishing the dialogue. I didn't know you were a girl.
All good, man. I'm a guy, by the way.
Hello?
Yes, I need to report an anonymous tip.
I received a call. Hey, Don, I've got a report that several people were found dead in a house in Rancho Santa Fe.
Inside, 39 members of the Heaven's Gate cult had taken their own lives, believing a UFO trailing the Hale-Bopp comet would take them to a higher level of existence.
Now, the thing I was constantly asking myself was that if Twitch is actively trying to crack down on viewbots, they must be aware of subbotting. I mean, after banning thousands of streamers on the same day across months for the same reason, it must mean that they at least have somewhat of an idea of it, right? Well, yes, but there's a catch. So according to this article, Twitch is aware of it and is, quote, combating fake engagement. Now, while this is a stretch, some people still get paid out from botted subs, even though most of them do get banned. And that's because Liam did confirm that he actually tested one of these services and that the subs actually landed on his dashboard. I wouldn't say that Twitch is purposely banning a bunch of creators and then allowing some fake subs or ad bots to go through, because that just is a massive stretch and there also just isn't any logical explanation. But I do believe that their moderation and enforcement of their own rules is just not being done right. One thing Liam pointed out to me during our call was that he would attempt to make cases on Twitch to get help with his payout holds, but that the tickets would just be closed or marked as duplicates within minutes of being opened. And what do you know? When I go back to the threads on Twitter, it's the same situation. And since I believe we've only seen a fraction of these cases where people have been mass banned, the possibility that Twitch profits off of these botted subs or ads isn't zero, like I said, but it's not 100% either. There's definitely a handful or maybe even tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars that were botted and still went through. But I am going to give credit where credit is due, because the Twitch CEO Dan Clancy and the Twitch support page actually ended up stepping in and taking a look at the situation. Some people did get their accounts back, but some of them still had frozen payouts, meaning that they couldn't even make any money. But even these unbans don't change anything because, like I said, the most recent case of this that I have on record is in May of 2026. Now, I don't want to completely shit on Twitch though, because I'm gonna be honest, Clancy is a pretty good CEO when you look at it from a different perspective. He has his own Twitch page, he tunes into other streamers, and he actually tries to understand what the experience is like for the average streamer and then tries to communicate transparently about how they will try to fix it. But then again, he's the CEO, he doesn't really have to abide by the rules, technically speaking. And because he, quote unquote, technically doesn't have to follow the rules, you can't really see a proper example of Twitch support stepping in or actually giving a chance to streamers when they have an issue. Because a lot of people actually claim that Twitch's support is completely automated with AI, which I can't say anything about, but something definitely needs to change about their moderation, about their enforcement of rules, and especially about hearing out streamers when they ask for help and taking some time to look into each case and solve it to their best extent, something that Twitch still isn't able to do fully. And I understand that Amazon is maybe pressuring them to have more layoffs and all that stuff, but still, handing over the entire support system to AI based off what people have said just is not a good move. And it's even funny too, because one thing that I asked Liam in our interview was that since he switched over to Kick, which does have its own issues, if at least the support was somewhat more helpful.
Dude, so much better. I had this problem on Kick. Yeah, it was a clipping issue. I was like, hey, your clipping, what do you call it, interface isn't working properly. They responded to me in less than 5 minutes.
Now, if what I've talked about in this video so far hasn't shown you the gravity of this issue yet, I want you to listen to what Liam said when I asked him how this issue of oversight affected him.
I know it doesn't really mean much for some other people, but at the time, my pet, my cat, she was sick. Could have really used the money to get her the proper vet care for her vet bills. Mainly, I was just trying to have a hobby that I really enjoyed, but also tried to make some money doing it. It just impacted my whole livelihood. I couldn't get things I needed or wanted at the time. I couldn't contribute towards my household. It sounds like these are little bits, but these little bits meant so much to me at the time. Also, another thing is that it was like false hope in a weird way, because like I was streaming and I was getting these contributions from the community, and I was thinking, oh great, people actually like me, you know. Getting my ego built up a bit. I was streaming a lot more, you know. I was enjoying myself, trying to talk to my community, spending so much time putting loads together, trying to put groups together, and only to find out it was botted.
And I think he worded it perfectly. To many people, it may just seem like small amounts of money, because if you look at the individual cases, it might not be a lot of money at first, but then again, to smaller creators, this money is a lot to them. And at this point, I also want to give a little thank you and shout out to Liam, who was kind enough to provide me with all this new information and even connect me with other people who face the same issue. It gave me a bigger insight into how deep this issue went, and I'm gonna link his channel in the description below if you guys want to check him out. But if you're somebody that is actually passionate about live streaming, don't let this thing stop you, because you see, platforms like Twitch or YouTube heavily fold under pressure by the public. So if you want more people to become aware of this issue, then maybe share this video around, or just tell people about this issue that actually do live streaming. Because I believe with enough voices and enough pressure that we can actually make a change. This has always been the case on the internet especially, which is why I think this case is no special one, and that this can also be fixed with enough voices. And lastly, if any Twitch staff or even Clancy are watching this video, I want to make it clear that this is just an investigation with no solid proof yet that hasn't been confirmed in a court of law. I'm not saying that there's a confirmed case of Twitch, quote, stealing money from creators or purposefully banning creators for no reason. Everything that I say in this video is purely my own opinion, based on sources I have gathered and shared in the description below. I welcome you guys and even Twitch to peek in and take a look for yourselves. And if Twitch or any affected party has information that contradicts what is presented here, I welcome that documentation publicly. So would you then say, so the people that have an account on Twitch with like payment methods and everything linked, and they aren't able to access their account because of like two-factor authentication or something, are those the same accounts that end up getting stolen and then used on these black markets? Is this what you're saying?
I would not be surprised. Not all of them. I just wouldn't be surprised.